I never thought my wedding would become the ultimate test of family loyalty, but that's exactly what happened. My name is Holly Davidson, and this is the story of how I discovered who my real family was. Ever since I was a little girl, I dreamed of getting married in Venice. There was something magical about exchanging vows in a city built on water, where romance seemed to float in the air. When Jeff proposed after 2 years of dating, I knew exactly where I wanted our ceremony to be. Jeff had always been supportive, one of the many reasons I fell in love with him. He was nothing like Brian, my college boyfriend who ended up in my sister Samantha's clutches. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Growing up, my parents always claimed they treated Samantha and me equally, but actions speak louder than words. Samantha was 4 years younger than me, with the same blonde hair and blue eyes that ran in our family. But where I was studious and responsible, Samantha was manipulative and entitled. From an early age, she'd set her sights on anything that was mine. "Mom, Holly won't let me play with her Barbie dream house," she'd wail, despite having her own toys. "Holly, share with your sister," Mom would instruct without looking up from her magazine. It started with toys, then clothes, then jewelry. By the time I was in high school, I'd learned to hide anything valuable. When I worked after-school shifts at the local cafe to save up for a laptop, Samantha somehow convinced my parents that she needed it more for a school project. I came home one day to find her using it in the living room, my parents defending her right to it. "You can share, Holly, don't be selfish," Dad had said. But all that was ancient history. I hadn't spoken to Samantha in years, not since the Brian incident in college. I'd maintained a decent relationship with my parents, though. They weren't perfect, but they were family, or so I thought. When it came time to plan the wedding, I made an executive decision. "I'd like to pay for you guys to come to Venice," I told my parents over Sunday dinner at their house. "Flights, hotel, everything." Mom's eyes lit up. "Venice, we've always wanted to go there." Dad nodded enthusiastically. "That's very generous of you, Holly." Then came the question I'd been dreading. "What about Samantha?" Mom asked cautiously. "I'm not inviting her," I said firmly, "and you both know why." They exchanged glances and fell silent. The tension hung in the air like a heavy curtain. "Anyway," I continued, breaking the uncomfortable silence, "I'll take care of booking everything for you too. I want it to be perfect." "Oh, don't trouble yourself with those details," Mom said, waving her hand dismissively. "Just send us the money, and we'll handle it. No sense in you being distracted with such small things when you have a wedding to plan." It seemed reasonable enough, they were adults, after all. I transferred $5,000 to their account the next day. Over the following weeks, they texted me their flight information and hotel confirmation. "The Vale Garden Resort," they said, "right near the Grand Canal." I was so relieved they were coming. Jeff's entire family would be there, his parents, grandmother, brother, and sister. On my side, I'd have my parents, plus my Aunt Linda, Uncle Robert, and 2 cousins. It would be perfect. As the wedding date approached, I flew to Venice with Jeff. We checked into our hotel and spent the days before the wedding finalizing details with the venue and greeting guests as they arrived. My aunt and uncle showed up, along with Jeff's family, but no sign of my parents. I tried calling them that evening, no answer. I tried again the next morning, still nothing. By the day before the wedding, panic had set in. I called, texted, and emailed. Radio silence. "Maybe they missed their flight," Jeff suggested, rubbing my shoulders as I stared at my phone. "Then why aren't they answering my calls?" I asked, fighting back tears. "Something's wrong." The morning of my wedding day arrived with a picture-perfect Venetian sunrise, but I was too anxious to appreciate it. I tried my mother's phone one more time, and to my surprise, she answered. "Mom, where are you guys? You were supposed to be here 2 days ago." "Oh, Holly," she said, in a tone that sounded oddly cheerful rather than apologetic. "I'm so sorry everything turned out this way. Well, you see, Samantha is having her housewarming party today. It's her first apartment, you know. She just moved out, and she needs our support." We decided this event was more important. I couldn't believe what I was hearing, more important than my wedding. The wedding you agreed to come to? The wedding I paid for you to attend? You have to understand, Holly, Samantha is starting a new life. I'm starting a new life too, Mom, I'm getting married today. There was a pause, and then I asked the question that was burning in my mind. What happened to the $5,000 I sent you for the trip? Mom's voice turned defensive. Well, we had to help Samantha with her new place. We threw her a lovely housewarming party and bought her a huge TV. She needed it for her new apartment. Holly, try to understand. I hung up, my hands were shaking so badly I nearly dropped the phone. Jeff found me sitting on the edge of the bed, tears streaming down my face. They're not coming, I whispered, they chose Samantha over me, again. Despite everything, I managed to pull myself together for my wedding day. My makeup artist worked miracles, hiding any trace of tears. My white dress flowed around me like water as I stood outside the small Venetian chapel. You look beautiful, Uncle Robert said, offering his arm. I'm honored to walk you down the aisle. I swallowed the lump in my throat. Thank you for being here. He squeezed my hand. Wouldn't miss it for the world, kiddo. The ceremony was everything I'd dreamed of. Jeff's eyes welled up when he saw me, and I forgot about my parents' betrayal for a little while. We exchanged vows against the backdrop of Venice's stunning architecture, surrounded by people who genuinely cared about us. Jeff's family had welcomed me with open arms from day one. His mother hugged me tightly after the ceremony. The reception was held at a historic palazzo overlooking the Grand Canal. As I danced with my new husband, I forced myself to focus on the present moment, on the happiness I deserved. No news from them? Jeff asked gently, twirling me under the twinkling lights. I shook my head. It doesn't matter anymore, this is our day. But the next morning, while having breakfast with our remaining guests, the whole ugly truth surfaced. I was scrolling through my phone when I saw it. Samantha had posted dozens of photos from her housewarming party. The timestamp showed they were from yesterday, exactly during our wedding ceremony. There she was, my younger sister, posing proudly in front of an enormous flat-screen TV, our parents beaming beside her. The caption read, "Thanks to my beloved and wonderful parents for this amazing gift and for treating me as their most beloved daughter." I nearly choked on my coffee. And that's when all the memories came flooding back, the real reason I'd stopped speaking to Samantha years ago. It happened during my sophomore year of college. I'd been dating Brian for almost a year, and things were getting serious. He was studying business, smart and ambitious with a warm laugh that made everyone around him feel good. I'd brought him home for Thanksgiving, and that's when Samantha set her sights on him. She was a senior in high school then, already practicing the manipulative tactics that would become her trademark. I noticed how she'd touch Brian's arm when she laughed at his jokes, how she'd find excuses to be wherever he was. "You're being paranoid," my mother said when I mentioned it. But I wasn't. 2 weeks later, Brian broke up with me with the classic "It's not you, it's me" speech. 3 days after that, I saw them together at the mall, her hand in his. When I confronted her, she didn't even try to deny it. "He likes me better," she said with a shrug, "always has. I'm just more his type." "You did this on purpose," I hissed, "you don't even like him." She smiled, that smug little smile I'd grown to hate. "Maybe I do, maybe I don't, but he's mine now." They dated for all of 2 months before she got bored and moved on to her next conquest. By then, the damage to our relationship was irreparable. I stopped coming home for weekends. I blocked her on all social media. Our parents tried to mediate, but I was done. Looking at her Instagram post now, I realized nothing had changed. She was still the same Samantha, determined to take what was mine or ruin it if she couldn't have it. "You okay?" Jeff's voice pulled me back to the present. I handed him my phone. "Look at this. Look at the time it was posted." His jaw tightened as he read the caption. "Wow, that's deliberate." My Aunt Linda peered over. "Your sister always did have a nasty competitive streak. Remember when she convinced all your high school friends that you were talking behind their backs?" I nodded grimly. that had been another of Samantha's greatest hits. By senior year, I'd lost most of my friend group to her manipulations. "And remember that laptop you worked so hard for?" Uncle Robert added. "The one she suddenly needed for a project?" "I remember everything," I said quietly. I excused myself and went out onto the balcony of our suite, staring out at the Venetian waterways. The gondolas glided by, tourists laughing and taking pictures. Normal people on normal vacations, not dealing with family betrayal on what should have been the happiest time of their lives. Jeff joined me a few minutes later, wrapping his arms around me from behind. "I have an idea," he said. "Why don't we extend our time here? Take all our guests on a yacht trip around Europe?" My parents were just saying they'd love to see more of the Mediterranean. I turned to face him. "A yacht trip? Can we afford that?" He smiled. "My bonus came through bigger than expected. And honestly, after what your parents did, I think we deserve some extra celebration with the people who actually showed up for us." The idea started to take shape in my mind. Not just a trip, but a statement. A declaration of who my real family was now. "Let's do it," I said, feeling lighter than I had in days. Back inside, we pitched the idea to our guests. Jeff's parents were immediately on board, as were his siblings. My aunt and uncle exchanged excited glances. "A 2-week European tour by yacht? Count us in," Uncle Robert enthused. As our group buzzed with excitement, a plan of my own began forming. I pulled out my phone and opened Instagram. "What are you doing?" Jeff asked. "Teaching my parents a little lesson," I replied, typing quickly. I posted a group photo from our wedding, Jeff and me surrounded by his parents, grandmother, siblings, plus my aunt, uncle, and cousins. We were all laughing, champagne glasses raised. "Excited to announce an extended celebration," I wrote. "Renting a yacht for a 2-week journey with our favorite people, visiting major European cities. These are the future conquerors of seas and oceans. Setting sail in 3 days." I hit post and waited, a grim satisfaction settling over me. I knew exactly what would happen next. It took exactly 30 minutes for my phone to ring after I posted about our yacht trip. Mom's name flashed on the screen, and I almost laughed at how predictable she was. I took a deep breath and answered. "Hello?" Holly, Mom's voice was breathless with excitement. "I just saw your post about the yacht trip, it looks amazing." No apology, no acknowledgement of missing my wedding. Just straight to what she wanted, typical. "Yeah, it's going to be great," I replied, keeping my tone neutral. "Your father and I were just talking, and we don't want you going without us. We'll buy tickets and fly to Venice right away. We can be there in a couple of days." I couldn't believe the audacity. "Really? How are you going to manage that? I thought you had no money for traveling to Venice. You know, since you spent my $5,000 on Samantha's TV and housewarming party." There was a brief pause. "We'll find the money for this trip, Holly. This is important, you'll wait for us, right?" "The yacht leaves in 3 days," I said. "Perfect, we'll be there in 2. I'll text you when we've booked everything." After hanging up, I explained the conversation to our family members gathered in the hotel suite. Jeff's mother shook her head in disbelief. "They have some nerve," she said. "What are you going to do?" my cousin Megan asked. I shared my plan with everyone. Instead of waiting 3 days as advertised, we would leave the next morning. My family members, my real family, were all supportive. The next day I received a text from Mom, "Just booked our tickets. We'll be in Venice the day after tomorrow. Can't wait for the yacht trip. Love you." I didn't reply immediately, let her think everything was going according to her plan. Then another text, "In the taxi to the airport now, so excited." Then, "At the airport, boarding soon." The messages continued through the evening and into the next morning. Meanwhile, we were already making arrangements with the yacht company to depart a day early. By the time my mother texted that they had landed in Venice, we were already sailing out into the Mediterranean, the wind in our hair and the taste of freedom on our lips. We're in Venice, her message read. Where are you? Can't find you or anyone at the hotel. I had prepared my response in advance, editing and refining it until it said exactly what I wanted. Now I sent it. Mom and Dad, I want to be very clear about something. You treated me like garbage. You took money I gave you for my wedding and spent it on Samantha. You chose her housewarming over one of the most important days of my life. You lied to me about booking flights and hotels. You are not my family anymore. You have your golden child Samantha, so ask her for money to get home. Don't contact me again. I turned off my phone after sending it. I didn't want to see their responses or deal with their calls. Instead, I wanted to enjoy this moment with the people who had actually shown up for me. The yacht was smaller than what you might imagine when you hear yacht, but it was perfect for our group of 12. The crew consisted of a captain, a chef, and 2 deckhands who kept everything running smoothly. We had comfortable cabins below deck, but spent most of our time on the main deck, soaking in the sun and scenery. Our first stop was Croatia, with its stunning coastline and crystal-clear waters. We docked in Dubrovnik and spent the day exploring the walled city, its ancient streets buzzing with life. Over dinner that night at a local restaurant, I finally turned my phone back on. It immediately lit up with notifications, 15 missed calls from my parents and over 20 text messages. I didn't read them all, but the few I glimpsed were exactly what I expected. How could you do this to us? This is cruel and heartless. We're stranded in Venice. I turned to Jeff's mother, who was sitting beside me. They're playing the victim card hard. She squeezed my hand. Let them, you know the truth. The next 2 days we sailed along the Croatian coast, stopping at small islands that seemed untouched by time. I gradually relaxed, the knot of anger in my chest loosening with each passing hour. By the time we reached Greece, I was able to laugh again without the shadow of my parents' betrayal hanging over me. In Santorini, as we sat at a cliffside restaurant watching the sun set over the caldera, Uncle Robert raised his glass in a toast. To new beginnings and chosen family, he said. To knowing who really has your back, Aunt Linda added. To Holly and Jeff, Jeff's grandmother chimed in, her eyes twinkling with affection. As our glasses clinked together, I felt a sense of belonging I'd never experienced with my parents or Samantha. These people, some related by blood, some by marriage, all by choice, were my true family. When we docked in Italy a few days later, my cousin Megan pulled me aside. I just got a call from my mom back home, she said. You won't believe the gossip going around. About my parents being stranded in Venice, I guessed. She nodded. Apparently they had to max out their credit card to get home. And get this, they asked Samantha to help them, and she refused. I couldn't help the bitter laugh that escaped me. Let me guess, she told them it wasn't her problem? Exactly, after they bought her that TV and paid for her party and apartment. Megan shook her head. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree, I guess. That evening, as we sailed toward our next destination, I found a quiet corner of the deck to think. The Mediterranean stretched out before us, vast and blue, the setting sun painting the water in shades of gold and pink. Jeff found me there, wrapping a light blanket around my shoulders as the evening air grew cool. Penny for your thoughts? He asked. I was just thinking about family, I said. About how it's supposed to be unconditional, but it never really was with my parents and Samantha. Jeff nodded, his arm warm around my shoulders. Family should be a safe harbor, not a storm. I leaned my head against him. I'm glad I found my safe harbor with you. With all of you, I added, gesturing toward the others chatting and laughing further down the deck. We're not going anywhere, he promised. As our yacht cut through the darkening waters, I felt lighter than I had in years, free of expectations and disappointments that had weighed me down for so long. My parents and Samantha had shown their true colors, and in doing so, had freed me from any obligation I might have felt toward them. 2 weeks passed like a dream. After Greece and Italy, we made our way to the French Riviera, lounging on pristine beaches and exploring charming coastal towns. Our final stop was Barcelona, where we reluctantly disembarked and said goodbye to the yacht that had been our home. The return to normal life was bittersweet. Jeff and I flew back to our luxury apartment in the city, a wedding gift from his parents that we had moved into just before the wedding. It was strange to be home after such an adventure, but also comforting to begin our married life together. "I'm going to start uploading our trip photos," Jeff said, setting up his laptop at our dining table. "Tag me in them," I replied with a smile, already imagining my parents' and Samantha's reactions. I had ignored their messages during our trip, choosing instead to focus on enjoying myself. Now, back home, I was curious to know what had happened in my absence. I didn't want to contact them directly, but I didn't have to wait long for an update. My phone rang the next morning. It was Aunt Linda. "Hey Aunt Linda, what's up?" "Holly, I've got some gossip you might find interesting," she said. "I just got off the phone with your Aunt Carol." Carol was my mother's sister, not particularly close to me but definitely in the family information loop. "What did she say?" "Well, apparently your parents had to use their emergency credit card to get back from Venice, and they're still complaining about it to anyone who'll listen. But here's the kicker, they're blaming you for everything." I snorted. "Of course they are. Carol says they've been telling everyone that you're the ungrateful one, that you abandoned them in a foreign country after they sacrificed so much for you growing up." The old me might have been upset by this, desperate to defend my reputation. The new me just felt tired of their games. "There's more," Aunt Linda continued. "Remember how they were paying for Samantha's apartment? Well, they can't afford it anymore, not after maxing out their credit card. So they told her they were cutting her off." I couldn't help the petty satisfaction that flowed through me. How did Golden Child take that news? "Not well," Aunt Linda chuckled. "According to Carol, Samantha moved back in with them, saying she couldn't find a job and had nowhere else to go. She gave them an ultimatum, either they keep paying for her apartment, or she's staying with them indefinitely." I burst out laughing. "So now they're stuck with her?" "Yep, Carol says they're miserable. Apparently Samantha has taken over the house, leaving her stuff everywhere and expecting them to cook and clean for her." After hanging up, I shared the news with Jeff, who shook his head in disbelief. A month passed. Jeff and I settled into married life, focusing on our careers and enjoying our time together. I'd almost forgotten about the family drama when my phone lit up with an unexpected caller, Samantha. I hesitated before answering, but curiosity won out. "Hello?" Holly, her voice was the same, slightly whiny, with that undertone of entitlement I'd grown to despise. "I need to talk to you. Look, Mom and Dad have treated both of us like crap. They promised to help me with my apartment, and now they've cut me off completely. I'm living with them again, and it's awful." "That sounds like a you problem," I replied coolly. "We're sisters, Holly, we're family. I'm looking for a job, but it's hard out there. I need some money to get my own place again, just until I find something." I almost laughed at her audacity. "Let me get this straight. You helped our parents bail on my wedding, you gloated about getting a TV they bought with my money, you refused to help them when they were stranded in Venice, and now you want me to help you?" "That's all in the past," she said dismissively. "And anyway, I organized that housewarming party months before I knew about your wedding date." "Bullshit," I snapped, "you deliberately scheduled it the same day. You've always been jealous of me, Samantha. Always trying to take what's mine or ruin it. You did it with my toys, my clothes, my laptop, my friends, and even my boyfriend in college. Nothing has changed." "That's not true, It is true, and we both know it. I'm not giving you a cent, and I'm not putting up with your games anymore. You made your choice when you helped Mom and Dad screw me over, and now you can deal with the consequences." The call devolved into an ugly argument, worse than any we'd had before. She called me selfish and cruel. I called her manipulative and entitled. By the time I hung up, I was shaking with anger but also strangely relieved. I had finally said everything I'd been holding back for years. Jeff found me on the couch, staring out the window at the city skyline. "Everything okay?" he asked, sitting beside me. "Samantha called asking for money," I explained, recounting the conversation. He whistled low. "The nerve of that woman. I think I'm finally done with all of them, I said, completely and totally done. He pulled me close, kissing the top of my head. You've given them more chances than they deserved already. That evening, as we cooked dinner together in our beautiful kitchen, I felt a profound sense of peace. My chosen family, Jeff, his family, my aunt and uncle, they were all I needed. The people who had consistently let me down were no longer my responsibility. As we sat down to eat, my phone dinged with a notification. Jeff's mother had posted photos from our yacht trip, tagging everyone. The comments section was already filling up with friends expressing envy over our adventures. I put my phone away, choosing to be present in the moment rather than worrying about what my parents or Samantha might think. They had made their choices, and I had made mine.